Welcome back, friends. Well, now, The West Wing was one of the most successful TV dramas in history, scooping Emmy Awards and plaudits by the sackful. For its climax, the drama featured a presidential election between a young and charismatic but inexperienced senator and a Washington veteran with a maverick streak. Well, sounds familiar? Well, to discuss the real US elections, I'll be speaking in a moment to Emmett Tyrell, the founder, of course, of the American Spectator magazine. But earlier I spoke to one of the regular stars from the West Wing, the Emmy-nominated actor and a member of the Council for Foreign Relations in his spare time, Ron Silver. Ron, welcome.
David, thank you for having me.
As you watch this election proceeding, is life imitating art here?
There's no question.
Or is it different?
No, there's no question about it. It is. Excuse my voice is a little raw this afternoon. There's a good reason for that. Many of the writers on the West Wing were political operatives before they wrote for the West Wing. Aaron Sorkin, who invented the show, is a wonderful, wonderful writer. And when the West Wing took shape, they hired a lot of people who had worked on campaigns. So what we had, particularly the final 3 years, was one of the chief speechwriters for Al Gore, the aide-de-camp to Senator Pat Moynihan, who was chair of the Finance Committee for many years from New York. Yeah. So you had a lot of people with one foot in each world. They were very experienced in the real political world, and I might say with a certain degree of accuracy and fairness, not a certain degree, with a great deal of accuracy and fairness, that these were all Democratic-leaning folks. Their temperament and sensibilities lay with the party. And that was the show. It was a Democratic administration.
So eventually won, didn't they?
Yes.
Are there major differences with the West Wing's race for the presidency and this one?
Well, there are generic differences that any film, and you've just been part of an extraordinary play, and that I understand is an extraordinary film about to come online, as it were. Yeah. You know that in any movie, there's compression of time. So there's a willful distortion right there. We have to compress the time into certain events that may have happened in a more tedious fashion over a period of years may be compressed. We also amalgamate characters sometimes to represent points of view. Those are generic distortions. Yeah. But in terms of the day-to-day workings of the script, there was a tremendous amount of accuracy how things worked. Now, the one caveat would be that it was a bit romanticized, idealized, that even the Democratic administration of Clinton did not quite operate like that. But when they dealt with issues in substance, they had the infrastructure right. That's how you deal with a lobbyist. That's how you deal with the schedule. That's how these people have access.
How you find money or whatever.
And you find money and do that. It lost touch a bit when the Bush administration came in because they organized and did things very differently from the TV show.
What about your personal journey? Because you started out as a Democrat. People were amazed in Hollywood and elsewhere when you switched to supporting George W. Bush. And now you are a sort of, I suppose you're a Democrat at home and a Republican overseas.
Now, where did you get that idea from? No, actually, I'm a man without a party. I'm a pariah to both extreme wings of the party because I don't fulfill their criteria or litmus tests. And in different fora, I have said things that have angered both parties. So while I am socially and economically still very much a Democrat, always was. If gay people want to get married, God bless them. I try to warn them and say along with marriage comes divorce, but they're not listening to me, so good luck. Things like health care, I'm to the left of most people. I'm for universal single. I like your health service here in the UK. So in many ways, the Republican Party is not accepting of me in my social and economic policies. And I believe it's a living constitution. I'm not a strict constructionist. So by many criteria, the Republican Party would not have me as part of their party. However, there is a wing of the Democratic Party that I've been relatively consistent in, and that is a relatively hawkish, liberal, internationalist foreign policy. A John F. Kennedy, go anywhere, bear any burden, Harry Truman, a very assertive policy, treating America exceptionalism as we are indeed an exceptional country, sometimes for good, sometimes for bad. But I believe the danger lies in the withdrawal of American power rather than its projection in the world, because I don't think there's anything to fill the vacuum.
You think that this election will be won by Senator Obama?
At the moment, all the trends are like that outside the margin of error. And now, the margin of error in this country, in my country, is usually 2 or 3% that most pollsters use. When an African-American candidate is running, it is run true to form, that margin of error is a bit skewed because people will not tell a pollster, I will not vote for a black person.
Tell a pollster
exactly.
than when you're on your own on the internet or in the booth.
Exactly right. So the margin of error may be as high as 4 or 5 points here, but Obama's leads now, particularly in certain states, are getting up into the 8, 9, 10-point category. John McCain has already pulled out of Michigan.
Yeah.
He may pull out of some other states. In some states that were thought to be in the Republican column, he's going to have to allocate money, time, and other resources in.
Well, we'll see if your prediction comes true. Certainly looking that way, as you say, in the latest.
Well, it appears that way, but any exogenous event can happen like that. 2 weeks ago.
That was a very good. Do that again. It's very
powerful. You like that? Actors. This is part of my skill set.
Well, pleasure to have you with us, Ron.
Thank you.
And
congratulations on the show.
Ron Silver, thank you very much, Ron.
Thank you, David. It was a pleasure.
Well, Bob, you heard there what our previous guest, Ron Silver, was saying. Did that strike a chord with you, or do you think he's got it wrong?
I don't think he's got it wrong. I just think he exaggerates a bit. There has been a real change in the polls in the last 24 hours. The Gallup poll, which has steadily gauged an Obama victory and had Obama ahead by as much as, I think, 12%, but certainly 9% last weekend, now has him ahead only by 2 points. So one of the things to remember about this race is stay tuned. It's changed twice already. Right after the Republican convention, somewhat to our surprise, Senator McCain was ahead. Then, as this financial meltdown took place starting about 3 weeks ago, Senator Obama forged ahead. That lead of his has started to decline. I'm a little surprised by it because I thought that the debate the other night was pretty much a draw. But remember, there's never been a candidate like this in modern times. Senator Obama, 10 years ago, wasn't even a political figure. He wasn't even, he was hardly a statewide figure in his state of Illinois. Now, of course, he's a national figure, but he's only been a national figure for 4 years. So there's going to be, we shouldn't be surprised that there's ups and downs in this race, and right now he's in a bit of a down, though he's still ahead.
Right, that's a very interesting late point there. Are there any other polls at the same time that reflect the same angle?
Well, the other polls have been quite steady, but they didn't show the wide disparity that the Gallup poll showed. They've shown Senator Obama to be ahead by just a few points, but it's been steady. Remember this about the Gallup poll. At least this year, the Gallup poll is said to be the most authoritative. And the Gallup poll is polling likely voters, not just generic voters or whatever these other polls. So I take the Gallup poll very seriously. The other polls I take seriously too. Glad I'm not a politician. I just follow the polls.
Yes, so as you say, in your opinion, rather than Ron's, anything could still happen.
Oh, I think that's true. I mean, one of the astounding things that's happened in this race was this financial crisis. I can't think of a presidential race that was suddenly struck in the middle of it with something as cataclysmic. And that in itself is unusual. The nature of the candidates is unusual, as I say. Senator Obama being such a novice, with a good organization, by the way, and he's a good candidate. And then Senator McCain, a war hero who's been on the national scene for so long, but always a maverick and independent. And so it's been a wild and wonderful race.
Absolutely. And what do you think would be the reaction? What would the response be to by the Republicans if Senator McCain lost, and by the Democrats if Senator Obama lost? What would happen next in the losing party?
Well, in the Republican Party, I think there would be a great rebirth of the old conservative movement, the Reaganite conservative movement. That's the wellspring of the Republican Party. And during the Bush years, it's sensed by those people who, after all, lived so comfortably with Ronald Reagan and had such hopes for George Bush. Those people are restive and I think would want to return to the old religion. In the case of Senator Obama, I think there'd be enormous frustration, because right now they look to be on the hem of a sweep of Congress, a sweep of the White House, and I think that although I think that they could find an excuse, actually, in that it was an anti-Obama vote. But that might palliate them somewhat. But I think that they'd be very, very distressed, losing yet again the presidency in the last days of the race. I think that would be very disturbing to them.
Well, thank God we got that sorted out. Thank you very much, very much indeed for being with us. We really appreciated it, and we look forward to reflecting on these results after the events. Thanks a million.
Thank you, David.
Now, in a moment, Oscar-winning movie director Ron Howard, after the news headlines.